And like if you have an hour to create video, it's way better to get 5 videos up that are pretty good versus like really polishing 1 or 2 videos. Like TikTok rewards quantity, like get more out. You want more shots at goal, and one of them will hit. But if you only get 2 really polished ones, you only have 2 shots. You want 5, 6, or 7.
What's up, elite video marketers? Today I am here with Jon Shanahan. Jon is the co-founder and CMO of Stryx. He has a hefty track record of very successful video marketing under his belt. He has built his YouTube channel for men's fashion, The Cavalier, up to over 140,000 subscribers, and most recently has amassed hundreds of millions of organic views on TikTok for his company Stryx. Jon, I'm super excited to learn about how you did it. I have to mention that this episode is presented by in-house videographer. Thanks to them, we get to talk to you and find out all of your strategies, but we'll talk about them later in the episode. Thank you for being here.
Of course. Well, you were here from the beginning. You and Aaron, we had breakfast one day and we talked about TikTok in 2019. And I was like, I'll go try it, sure. And now here we are, 3 years later. I'm still making TikToks every day.
Was that the origin story? That before you even got on TikTok? Dang.
Yeah, we had breakfast. That breakfast where you guys talked about it, and I was like, you know what? So I missed Snapchat. When I was in college, I was like, I think I'm too old for Snapchat. And then we talked about it at that breakfast, and I went home and made some TikToks, and now it's become our single biggest channel. So it's been amazing to dig in.
That's epic. Of the YouTube channel versus the TikTok channel growth, which one of those was harder for you to get a hold on, and why?
I understood YouTube deeper earlier. TikTok is more of a lottery system than YouTube ever was. YouTube tends to be a little bit more consistent, especially once you gain an audience. There's a lot more consistency there. TikTok is just the Wild West still, even 3 years later. So I would say TikTok is the harder one to truly master. But there's just there's so many learnings, there's contradicting stuff out there. And like, I try to caveat any of my advice with like, this is what has worked for me, but here are some of the general best practices for that. So I'm happy to dig in as we talk about it today.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you speak to one of the major unlocks that you had in building your YouTube channel early on? Was there a pivot point for you in building that where you really started to see the growth pick up?
Yeah, I would say getting enough videos to the point where YouTube kind of figures you out. So my insight into YouTube, I posted a video in 2007, and it was a alternate ending to the movie I Am Legend. And in 2007, that video got almost 1 million views, which like back then was unheard of. And I remember going into my analytics at the time, I was in high school, and seeing that most of the views came from search. And I was like, interesting there. And then every statistic you look at, YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world behind Google, and they're very intertwined. And so my insight into my original premise on YouTube was, I'm just going to own search. I want to have brands, keywords, that sort of thing. I want to just, if you search for something, my video will come up. And so I did that. I didn't hit enough different brands. My original, what I originally did is I was covering the same brand each month in their new drops, but I should have done more different brands to hit more keywords. Mm-hmm. But then once I started to do that, YouTube was like, oh, here's, and TikTok does this too very much, which is like, here's the videos he is making, here's the audience that it's resonating with, we're going to put it to more of those people. And so there was a big pivot point. This was about a little over a year into doing my YouTube channel, where I did a video about the Kingsman style. And because I had a year's worth of SEO and a year's worth of YouTube kind of understanding my content, it put it as a recommended video on one of the biggest men's style YouTube channels at the time, who did a video about Kingsman style. And it just put my video as like the autoplay of the next one. And I remember that weekend just like skyrocketed as that. And I've had several videos where a majority of the views came 6 months after I posted it. And that's just like the power of the platform. If you make good evergreen content, YouTube is always trying to serve that up to audiences. Not really the same on TikTok, but that was definitely the pivot point where I was like, oh, I made enough videos that, you're able to kind of not just bring that audience that you started and kind of like gain along the way, but introduce you to a whole new group.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like the domain authority that you gain with SEO. And, however many websites are linked back to your site, you automatically get ranked higher. And YouTube is extremely favorable towards the channels that are just relentlessly consistent and just constantly putting out new content. So that's fascinating. How are you thinking about your TikTok strategy now? So do you have a strict schedule or anything that you're trying to follow with the same rate of consistency as YouTube?
Well, with TikTok, it's definitely more quantity over quality. And like if you have an hour to create video, it's way better to get 5 videos up that are pretty good versus like really polishing 1 or 2 videos. Like TikTok rewards quantity, like get more out. You want more shots at goal and one of them will hit. But if you only get 2 really polished ones, you only have 2 shots. You want 5, 6, or 7. My creation, like I'll say I'm going to make, 5 TikToks in a day and I'll end up making 1. And then some days I'm like, I don't really feel like doing it today and I make 5. It's just like, it varies wildly, but I try to say like, I'm going to create in this time. And then some days, I'll get 3 or 4 done. And then some days I'll get more. But just having that like at least 1 or 2 a day has been big. And my biggest struggle has been to kind of separate the creation, as far as like, I'm shooting this content for this video, but I need to shoot more that can be used across multiple videos. That's been my biggest thing is like, I shoot so much of this stuff directly in the app, specific to the video. And then instead what I need to be doing is like, here's a routine. I'm getting a little bit better at it, but like, here's a routine that I can do a different voiceover on. I can do different transitions, cuts, messaging, so that one, 30-minute slot that I'm shooting a video, I can get 5 out of it instead of just 1 or 2.
Right. That makes so much sense with batch content and obviously being able to use across different platforms. I myself have noticed on TikTok that any video I shoot within the app performs a lot better than videos that I'm uploading from like other platforms or even just importing footage. So that's something that we've had to wrestle with and experiment with. But
I've definitely noticed that too, which is part of why I tell myself I'm just going to keep shooting in the app because it's easier in the moment, but it's more difficult that I have to do like, 3 times the work essentially because I can't, replicate the video as much. We've definitely had big videos that have been like re-edits of previous videos with new voiceovers. So it's not 100% correlated.
Yeah, totally. Is there anything that you're doing specifically this year in your video marketing strategy that you weren't doing last year? Maybe you were neglecting last year?
Yeah, we definitely tested with having other creators on our page. And this year, like by the end of the year, we're going to have 3 new guys that are consistent faces on the page because it shouldn't just be the Jon Shanahan men's makeup channel. It should be the Stryx channel. And so that's the big thing this year. Like we tested a little bit, we didn't have the consistency for it. There was a lot of things that didn't work out for that. But yeah, this year there's going to be more creators that are going to be putting out more consistent content with us so that my face is only like a third of the feed versus right now it's 100%.
Wow, that is fascinating. I cannot wait to hear more about that, but I do have to take a moment to thank our sponsor, inhousevideographer.com. They are the best videographer training platform on the internet for closing more sales, increasing client retention, and building a powerful magnetic brand. Jon, you mentioned that you're bringing on 3 new faces to Stryx. How are you training these people to get up to speed with your brand?
I've essentially made like an in-house course. So when we find a creator that we know can make a good TikTok, my course is basically like, how to make a good TikTok. Here's how good Stryx TikToks have gone. So it's like, here's the hooks that work. Here's the messaging. Here's the, just like sounds. And there's all these different components of videos that I've done that have done really well. And so part of it too is I've been a creator now for 7 years. I did it full time for 3 and then Stryx. And so part of it is like, hey, if you are an aspiring content creator, like I've been in the stuff for a while, so I can also help coach you as you try to grow as a creator too. And so that's kind of been part of the messaging as we talk to creators.
That is awesome. We are very aligned here. Clearly, in-house courses are the way to go to get your team up to speed with the content that they need to be producing to grow your brand. You can check out our sponsors course, inhousevideographer.com. But how have you selected these specific faces for the brand? Did you have to go through some sort of audition process? Like how did you attract these people?
Yeah, there's definitely an audition process. It's definitely, can you make a good TikTok and can it, perform to a degree? And then it's about saying, okay, let's give you more shots over here and then working on the training for that. So actually a lot of the guys have been me finding creators that I like on my For You page, and then I slide into their DMs and go from there. There's a ton of marketplaces that have popped up for like working with creators and UGC and everything else, but I've found the higher success are just me finding somebody that I think makes good TikToks and then starting a relationship with them.
Yeah, I specifically with like cosmetic and skincare brands too, UGC is such a popular way to go for a lot of brands. And you guys, you've established the mustachioed, like it's the Jon Shanahan face of Stryx. And now this is so interesting, like the pivot into like, no, you're going to get more recognizable faces, but it's not necessarily just a mishmash of all these random creators across the internet. Being very curated, very selective, which is a very interesting strategy.
Yeah, a huge component of TikTok is like the personal relationship you feel with a creator. And that's part of why I think we've been able to stand out as a brand, is it's like I'm there answering questions as the founder of the brand. And so I think that's the reason in the past that we haven't had success with other creators, is like we want to have consistent faces and consistent personalities so that when you see when it pops up in your feed, you kind of know them a little bit. And so giving at least that timeline and that consistency is really key for that.
Totally. So you said early on that TikTok has been, without a doubt, the biggest driver of sales for Stryx and for your products. Let's talk about hooks and calls to action within your TikToks, the bookends of a video. How do you hook people in the initial 1 to 5 seconds of a video? And then what do you do specifically to direct them to buy a product?
The first 3 seconds are the most important part of any TikTok. The hooks for us have been just leaning into the questions that people have about what we're doing, what it is, how it works, those sorts of things. And then, even just like video movement and the different ways that you can kind of catch, because somebody broke down, Mr. Beast had a video that was 90 seconds long and it had like 120 cuts or something. It's like, there's part of it which is like visual attention, then audio, and then also just kind of the message behind it. And so, the best hooks for us are just like leaning into the questions that we get, whether it be from customer service or right on TikTok. And then also like having a solid message. I think the ability to say something succinctly, quickly, and get the point across is very underrated. And that's a big part of TikTok. And then also, showing whatever it is, there's a lot of, you get tons of views that are people just telling stories in their car or something, but being able to show it is really big. And then I'm not a fan, we've tried sometimes where it's like, hit this to follow or, go do this thing. But TikTok doesn't really respond to that. If you have a compelling story in action, like that is more powerful than saying like, go to the link in the bio or go over here and check this thing out. The most overtly we've done it, especially recently, is we're doing like a Target scavenger hunt, and we're asking explicitly to take a picture of our product on the shelf and send it to us. So there's no really way to like soft sell that or to softly do that. But I think we've had 450 people send in pictures across the country in Target, and that's massive. And so that's been like, it's like, if you see us on the shelf, send in the picture and we're going to send you a $10 gift card. It's like, that's the big call to action, and it's been working out. And so we had big success with that in 2020 when we rolled out in CVS. And so we were trying to replicate it with Target. And I think we've already beat the CVS submissions, which is great.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like TikTok recently has been shadow banning or blacklisting people who direct them outside of TikTok. Like link in the bio, people literally don't even type out link in bio anymore. They have to play around with different symbols to direct people elsewhere.
Yep.
Which makes sense. Like obviously TikTok wants you to spend as much time on their platform as possible. But I love that creative interaction that it's a direct call to the audience, but you've built up enough of a raving fan base at this point that people will obviously respond to that. That's pretty epic.
Yeah, there's no real shortcut to that either.
No.
It's been cool to watch other brands come on the platform and kind of flounder, and it's like you gotta put in the time. You can't just fake it.
Oh, 100%. You mentioned Mr. Beast. Within Piper, we are avid watchers, studiers, analyzers of Mr. Beast as well. Is there anyone else that you seek inspiration from, or somehow you keep coming back to their content because you like the way they plan it out, or is there anyone who you're stealing from actively?
I've lost a lot of that. Consistent consumption from any particular creator. What I do now is mostly, it's like if I see a video on my For You page that has 1 million likes, I put it in I put it in one of my save files in TikTok, and then I'll go back to it later and be like, okay, what are the aspects of this that made it do so well, and how can I apply it to my thing? So a lot of it has just become more just like newer consumption of things, because I followed Peter McKinnon and Mr. Beast and like Casey Neistat. Like, I don't think I would have had a YouTube channel if it weren't for Casey Neistat. But he doesn't create anymore. It's like he burned out of it, and there's a learning in there too. But so much of my, especially like on TikTok, is like, okay, why are these things succeeding in this way? What can I learn from each of those? And so I'll go into like, you call it a swipe file. I'll go into there and be like, all right, let me break this down a little bit and see how I can apply it to my next video.
Awesome. Man, there are so many valuable nuggets in here. I'm so psyched for people to actually listen to this episode. But I do have, I'll say 2 final questions. What are you hoping to expand upon in your video strategy in the next year? And are there any specific goals for Stryx that you can share?
Yeah, expanding is definitely the new creators and kind of opening that up a bit more. So like the first stage of that is working with creators that goes onto their own pages, and then from there bring them onto ours. And then like the third step is really like that consistent, like, all right, we're going to work with you for 3 or 4 months. You're going on retainer, and it's going to be consistent from there. So expanding what I've learned to other creators within the Stryx ecosystem necessarily. So that's the biggest one. Especially, I'm having a baby in December, and I kind of want like
Congrats.
other people. Yeah, I need other people to help me out making some videos, so I got 3 others to take care of while the new baby's here. And excited for Stryx. I mean, what we've seen is a really great reception to me kind of breaking down, and this one of the videos just did really well recently was like why Target was the choice for us. I was really surprised a few months ago. Somebody said, did going on Shark Tank enable you to get into Target? And I was like, no, we actually signed that deal before we even filmed Shark Tank. And I broke down, and somebody asked like, okay, how do you pitch a retailer? And I broke down like how we pitched Target, and that video did over 1 million views. And I was like, to me, this is like niche content. It's like how many people are brands pitching to Target, but people really found that interesting. And so really highlighting, I mean, for us, success in Target is success for the entire company. So how do I continue to highlight the great ways that Target is building their men's presence, and the fact that we're a part of that? To me, that's the next thing I'm really excited about with Stryx is like we're coming up on our 6 months in Target now, and so continuing to be like, how do we expand that relationship? How do we get more stores and more SKUs and everything? I think that comes directly from the traffic we're driving through our awareness on TikTok and social media.
That's epic. And my last question, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Shark Tank a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So one thing that I found fascinating when, the show was about to air and you were promoting it, you were very graceful in going about the NDA stuff. I know there were a bunch of things that you weren't able to talk about when you were on Shark Tank, but there were some like behind the scenes nuggets that you dropped with people. Did you have a framework ahead of time going in when the show was going to air did you have a way you were thinking about, how am I going to promote this without like giving stuff away, without getting in trouble legally? Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, so there are binders and binders of NDAs we had to sign to be on Shark Tank related to everything on the show. And so part of the prep is like, we've had to read those over and over of like, what can I say? What can I say? How can I say it? And everything else. And so, yeah, so when we filmed, I don't know, this isn't really covered on the NDA. We filmed almost a year before it aired. So I had a lot of time to kind of gestate of like, how would I promote it? What would I talk about? Everything else. The other challenge is like, you can't say anything about the outcome of the show. And so I also didn't know how they were going to edit it. I mean, we filmed for an hour and they make it an 8-minute segment. So I was like, what are they even going to leave in? And so it was like, when I see a brand that was on Shark Tank, it's like, I have a lot of questions for them. And so it's like, what are my questions? How do I answer those? And how do I continue to like have that kind of interesting aspect to the show? Because I think anybody that's in the consumer space and anybody like around what we do watches the show, knows the show, wants to be on the show because they know it's a big opportunity. And so it's like, all right, how do I take those things that I was always curious about and interested in and turn that into an interesting piece of our experience on there? Because it's a very, very small amount of people end up getting on the show. I mean, it's like Stanford or Harvard, acceptance rates are the ratios for who gets on the show. And how do I also do it where it's not coming off as like, check me out, I'm on Shark Tank. Part of that is like, I want to make sure I'm not a total jag about it. And so, yeah, so I definitely was like, all right, how do I talk about the show, kind of give a peek behind the curtain in the way that I can. And then, after the show, I haven't covered as much of the show afterward as I probably could. I'll probably make one today and talk a little bit more about it. So you might see that
nice.
After this goes up. But yeah, I mean, it was an incredible experience. Definitely changed, the company in a big way. And there's a lot of social validation with it that comes with the show, which you can't pay for. It's incredible.
Right. Yeah. I just reflecting, after watching the episode and then like seeing your strategy leading up to it and then after it, it reminded me, this sounds like a ridiculous comparison, but it reminded me of like kind of celebrity couples, how they soft launch relationships at times. And it's like, it's private, but not secret. So you were able to kind of toe the line very beautifully of like releasing enough information to keep it very tantalizing, and keep people coming back for more. But also like, I'm sure a lot of people went straight to Hulu after it aired to like watch it because they were made aware of your presence on it by your TikTok. So props to you for that. It was a fun thing to watch unfold in real time.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, Jon, thank you so much for joining me today. Like I said, I'm incredibly excited for everyone to listen to this episode. Where can people connect with you, and what can we do for you after your appearance on the show?
I do use a bit of LinkedIn. That's another Aaron and Hannah thing is LinkedIn is a good one. Just don't tell me that you're going to triple my ROAS or try and sell me something on the first message.
Oh yeah, no.
Drop Hannah's name in the thing and connect with me there. I'm pretty active on D2C Twitter, so there's a lot of D2C nice. People that are on Twitter. So I'm pretty active over there. I don't need anything. You can watch my TikToks. Wear your daily SPF. That's the big one. You pick up some Stryx SPF. One. And if you have any questions, I'm always happy to chat TikTok. I spend a lot of my time on it. So however I can help people. That's why I was excited when you guys reached out.
Amazing. Well, thank you again. I will link all of those links in the show notes. And Jon, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Good luck, everybody.